Thanks for being with us here on KRTV. We'll have much more on the fallout of the Farm Bill's expiration in a moment.
So topping our news this Monday afternoon, a man who was accused of killing his friend in a drunk driving crash last year will no longer be held accountable for the death.
The decision comes as the state admits they do not have enough evidence to prove that Daniel Sangrey was driving the motorcycle that fateful July night. The accident happened in the summer of 2011. The motorcycle was swerving erratically down 38th Street on the northeast end of Great Falls when it slammed into an oncoming van. Sangrey and his friend Robert Ross were thrown from the bike. Ross died from his injuries.
A witness initially told police that Sangrey was the second person to be ejected from the motorcycle, which led crash scene investigators to believe that Sangrey was the driver. But since the crash, the witness says he remembers more from that night, specifically that a man in a red shirt was the passenger, which would be Sangrey. Sangrey was seriously injured in the crash and says he has no recollection of the event.
Sangrey attempted to enter a no-contest plea to the vehicular homicide charge last winter. That deal would have sent him to prison for 4 years, but the judge threw out the deal, saying 4 years was not a fitting punishment. Now, just as the trial was supposed to begin, all charges have been dismissed since there's no way to prove who was driving. Both the judge and the state say this is an example of the system working as it's intended.
For the first time in nearly 40 years, the agriculture industry is left without a farm bill.
The bill providing a level of certainty for Montana's farmers expired at midnight, taking many ag protections along with it. Congress's inability to agree on a new farm bill means the most recent one expired with no replacement. The Montana Grain Growers Association says having no farm bill means many programs and incentives are cut. Though Montana growers are not expected to see any changes in the short term. Crop insurance remains the most important protection for farmers in Big Sky country, and that will remain. But the Grain Growers Association says it's the long term that leaves a number of questions.
There's some uncertainty in our commodity programs. Now, the Farm Bill does operate on a crop year, not a calendar year. So we are in the middle of the 2012 crop year. There are still some of those important farm program payments that will still be coming based on the 2012 crop year. Where it becomes uncertain is with the 2013 crop year.
Dairy farms will be the first to see the fallout of the Farm Bill's expiration, as many of those programs expire December 31st. Raska says Congress has indicated they will bring the Farm Bill to the lame duck session, and she says the House and Senate versions of the bill are not that different. She just hopes the House will take the opportunity to vote on the bill and move forward.
Several agricultural organizations, including Montana's Farmers Union, are joining a national effort to try and save America's renewable fuel standard, otherwise known as RFS. The RFS is a part of the U.S. Energy Policy Act of 2005, mandating 7.5 billion gallons of renewable fuels must be blended into gasoline by this year. But the Environmental Protection Agency is considering a request to waive RFS. The Protection Agency says those in the livestock and poultry industries are facing high feed prices because of the drought, and RFS is putting pressure on the supply of corn. Montana's Farmers Union says if RFS is waived, it could have detrimental effects on our rural communities. They say Montana has just started exploring its potential growth in the area, and this would come as a major setback.
We're trying to produce more ethanol from biomass products. We have large crops of oil seed, and there's an opportunity for farmers and ranchers with these dry conditions to plant more because these would be good crops for Montana farmers and ranchers.
Christians also says it would jeopardize our nation's energy security and could impact more than 50,000 jobs. Well, we're just hours away from some big weather changes under the Big Sky.
Meteorologist Mike Rollins is in the Storm Tracker Weather Center with the very latest on those changes. Mike?
Well, Katie and Tim, it's warm out there right now. Temperatures in Great Falls and many areas across central Montana close to 80 degrees. But look up into Canada, 48 Juneau, 45 Anchorage. You take that cooler air mass and move it into Montana, and that's the forecast as we head toward midweek. We will look at all those big changes in detail coming up in my complete forecast in just a couple of minutes.
All right, thanks, Mike. Montana's two largest utility companies have filed requests to raise natural gas rates, but it's not due to the cost of gas.
NorthWestern Energy and Montana-Dakota utilities are both asking for increases to recover costs of building new gas pipelines and to maintain current operations.
The Public Service Commission does not expect to make a final decision on those requests until next summer.
We will have a fully vetted, fully scrutinized hearing individually for each of those utilities to talk about the necessity, if in fact there is one, for a rate increase and whether or not it's fair and beneficial to ratepayers.
Customers of MDU in eastern Montana would see an average increase of around $3.37 a month. The average NorthWestern Energy customer could see an increase of $5.69 a month.
These proposed rate hikes hit at a time when natural gas prices are near historic lows.
The increases concern the Montana Consumer Council, which represents ratepayers in matters that come before the PSC.
We're coming down from record high prices, but just now at a point where people are feeling a little bit of relief. So I think for a lot of people, $5 or $6 a month, you're looking at $60 or $70 a year, and that does make a difference.
It's been 8 years since MDU has asked for a capital improvements rate increase and 3 years since NorthWestern Energy has applied.
With cold weather just around the corner, now is the time to apply for those looking for help with their heating bills. As of today, Low Income Energy Assistance Program, or LEAP, started accepting applications for the winter months. Those who qualify for LEAP receive a credit to their utility account if heat costs are paid directly, and a heat rebate if heating costs are included in rent. Those who use wood are usually paid directly for purchases. The program also offers weatherization to increase home heating efficiency. LEAP is available to both renters and homeowners based upon income.
Hundreds of Montana businesses are getting a rebate for operating safe workplaces. Montana State Fund announced today it will refund $350,000 to 850 businesses. President Lawrence Hubbard says these are small businesses which pay less than $10,000 in premiums every year.
It's very important that they have a written safety program in effect at least 1 year prior to participation in the group program. They also have to be insured or loss-free with Montana State Fund for 3 years before they'd be eligible to participate. So it's a very select group of small employers who have a history and a demonstrated safety record.
The rebate is a result of legislation which passed in 2009. Hubbard says if businesses are interested in the refund program, they should either contact their state fund policy manager or Montana State Fund.
A local group working to educate the public on the benefits of medical marijuana says they have an uphill battle ahead of them. Just last week, Chris Williams was found guilty on 8 felony charges for his involvement with cannabis operations in Helena. Grant Grenfell with the Montana Medical Growers Association says the verdict isn't making the industry any more complicated than it already is. Grenfell says without the federal government and the state government being on the same page, patients are caught in the middle.
There's a time and a place for it, and the same thing with your medicine. You know, people need to be responsible with it. They need to treat it responsibly. If you have children, you need to be responsible around them. The same as pharmaceutical drugs.
Grenfell says he'd like to see a better law written that works for the people of Montana. He'd like the medical marijuana industry to be regulated by the state and not the federal government.
Online education is getting a $1 million boost for students of Great Falls College, MSU. The Department of Labor awarded the money to 8 schools that were looking to transform their science courses. The money given to Great Falls College will go toward new equipment, training, and lab technicians. The school is excited to offer increased access for those students who can't come onto campus.
I hope that it'll bring more access to students, especially who are what we call place-bound or who don't necessarily live in our community, but also will allow better access for people who do live in our community, who maybe are working full-time and can't get here on campus to.
The online courses available will include physics, chemistry, and biology. They hope to have the new program available to students by next fall. Flathead Valley Community College in Kalispell was also included in the colleges to receive the grant money. Online learning sounds nice about now as I think back on the days of walking around campus and in as many layers as you can get. We're getting back to that time of year right now.
It is coming toward that in the next couple of days. We're really going to be cooling down and seeing not only rain, but also snow, the first snow of the season. Next few hours are looking good. Here's your planner. Sunny, warm, 7 o'clock, 77 degrees. By 9 o'clock, we're down into the mid-60s, and we'll hit 60 by 11 o'clock with winds starting to pick up a bit more overnight. We'll talk about what you can expect for the overnight hours and these big changes on the way when we come back.